everybody can hear me, can you just wave your hand? Like at the back, if you can hear me, just wave your hand. Wave your hand. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay. Do you know what's really fascinating? Is the fact that this blob inside of here did that whole entire thing. You saw me do the action, you heard the instruction, it was meaning, you understood it was language, you understood what I was saying. So you heard me, you saw me read the instruction.
Introduction to the following learner, please come to the office. I will go back to name A, please come to the office. Repeat, I will go. Number 8A, please come to the office. Thank you.
Okay. You were also self-conscious because I didn't tell you to stop waving your hand, but you stopped waving your hand. Anyways, let me begin. So, today we are going to be talking about neuropsychology. But Sadia, what is neuropsychology? Neuropsychology is a branch of psychology that concerns with the cognition and the behavior of a person. The cognition and the behavior of a person that relates to the brain and the nervous system. So psychologists in this field would work with people with brain injuries and illnesses, and they'll understand how this affects the cognition and behavior. Okay, and I just quoted from Wikipedia. You guys probably don't understand what I'm saying. Let's use an example. Example of wave. Psychologists are interested in how that wave happened, what different components were put together for that wave to be possible. Another example would be Phineas Gage. So this is one of the most earliest and the most famous brain injury stories in neuropsychology. So this was like a long time ago. This was in 1823. So Phineas Gage, he found himself like in his mid-20s. He was working as at the railway station as a foreman. So he was a really good worker. He was respectable. He was intelligent. He was good at decision making and all that kind of stuff. They liked him. He was a likable person. And what they would do is that they would explode these rocks. So they would have big rocks and then like drill holes inside of these rocks, and then need to let it explode. So the way they did that is they took 2 to 3 meter long rods and they put it inside and they put the explosive powder inside, and so it can explode. But poor Phineas Gage, he was there and this created a spark. So the rod ended up shooting up through his skull, past his eye, out of his head. But this was happening very fast, so it just went shoot. And you can see here, his eye is also gone. But what makes the story in neuropsychology very fascinating is that he survived. Remember, this was in the 1800s. So he actually survived this and he didn't die because they didn't have like proper doctors and all that kind of stuff. So after a few months, obviously, then he had a good recovery. He was walking, he was talking. But remember, guys, the stick rod went up of his head. But when he went back to work, there was a problem though. He became he had a short temper and he became a bit abusive. His problem solving wasn't that good, his thinking wasn't that good, he had basically a temper. So I would like to show you guys, if you guys could all come closer. What exactly happened? So the pole went up through Phineas Gage's frontal lobe. So this part here is the frontal lobe. But this is a sheep brain. So the difference between a human and a sheep brain is the frontal lobe is less developed because their back part, which is this is the temporal, the medial temporal cortex. This is more developed because it's got to do with the olfactory senses, which has got to do with the smell. So obviously, you know, sheep roam around and they smell, right? They don't actually think. So the frontal lobe is what controls thinking, problem solving, and planning. So as we look at this brain, this holy pie thing is called the cerebrum. And in this little circle over here, can you see? This is called the cerebellum. That is like motor, like voluntary movements, like walking and running and all those kind of things. So we spoke about the frontal lobe. Then we have the parietal lobe, that is for body sensories. And in these ones, and we explained this is the olfactory, the sense, and the occipital, which is like the eyesight and viewing and all that kind of stuff. So I can't exactly open this brain because it is cutting off, and I couldn't exactly cut it properly off because I had to get this from a sheep's head. It was no joke. But if you could see in the middle, you can still see the corpus callosum, which is like the thing that holds the two hemispheres together. But don't worry, guys, because you're going to learn a lot about this in life science. It's in the syllabus, and I'm really excited for it. But anyways, so what we spoke about today is a little bit of history. We did some functions of the brain. So this is what neuropsychologists do. They work with patients with brain injury things like that. So this is what neuropsychology is all about.